Guess what? The world is still watching.
It's time for you guys to start being journalists.
Before an angry Andrew Baldwin left the courthouse, 13 News overheard him speaking to Richard Allen's wife, saying, "It ain't over. The world's watching. The world sees what's going on."
Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video. It is Thursday morning, the 7th of December, and seemingly I don't know the difference between AM and PM. It appears that my latest episode of Cold Case Christmas has already been posted. This episode, episode 7, Lost at the Lock, Continued Search for Neil Skinner, was meant to post on the channel automatically at 6 PM UK time. It appears that actually happened at 6 AM. So when I scheduled it, obviously I made a mistake. So you've got episode 7 12 hours early. I'm sure you don't mind, but just to let you know, for those of you who are following that series over on my other channel, Michelle Walks, who are used to these episodes coming out at 6 PM, whatever that is in your local time, well, you've already got it. So there's that. So tomorrow's episode and the ones going forward will be at 6 PM UK time, unless I make any more boo-boos. Okay. Let's talk about the Delphi case. Well, the world is definitely still watching. And we are waiting. We are waiting for a decision, a response, something, anything from the Supreme Court of Indiana to give us a decision or whatever, something about the two writs of mandamus and prohibition that were put together and sent there. We've had a lot of discussion on this channel, and many other channels have discussed these two writs. First one is kind of procedural about records and such, and Judge Gull jumped in at the 11th hour trying to correct the record of sorts. And then her and the Attorney General, who's Theodore, that's him, I was going to say his name escapes me, but Theodore Rakita, both put in responses to the second writ, which were a bit ridiculous, very weak. The good people of Reddit directed us all to a new episode of The Murder Sheet. I hear you groan. Yes, I feel like that about The Murder Sheet. I used to occasionally listen to the Murder Sheet podcast. I listened to some of the stuff about Kegan Kline. And I'd dip in occasionally if there was something that I thought was interesting. But the way that they've dealt with Richard Allen's attorneys being disqualified, how they've been ridiculously in favour of the judge, how they've been ridiculously hypocritical about the leaks. Based on this post here on Delphi Docs, I have gone and listened to this episode. Richard Allen goes to the Indiana Supreme Court. Conversation with Indiana University School of Law Federal Habeas Project Director Michael Ausbrook. So this dude, defence lawyer, not a trial lawyer, but does tons of stuff, been a member of the bar for 30 years. Very interesting conversation. So, yeah, make your choice. Do you want to go and listen to it? I will say, if you find the Murder Sheet annoying, they hardly speak. It's all Michael. They hardly speak. And he's basically said everything that I've said, that a bunch of other people have said, and I'm not a lawyer, right? I'm not a lawyer in my country. I'm certainly not a lawyer in Indiana. But I do know little bits and pieces about the law, and I've got a whole big chunk of common sense. So I really like it when defence attorneys come along and they say, actually, from a legal perspective, that all of this is a big, fat, blasting, hot mess. It's a hot, dirty mess, as Michael Ausbrook quite nicely put it. You've got to give them credit for putting someone on their podcast who clearly disagrees with them, who, and presenting the opposing side. So they had very little to say. Michael stole the show. Very interesting conversation. Not a conversation. They just asked him a few questions and he was able to just basically say what we've all said. Those of us who believe that Judge Gull should be disqualified and the original lawyers, the rightful lawyers of Richard Allen, should be reinstated. He said the leak, Mitch Westerman, his leak, was, in his opinion, not a crime. He used the example of if he invited someone into his house for pizza and then he left that person alone for whatever long and that person then took photos of his family photos and then distributed them on the internet, would that be unlawful? No, it might be immoral, and it's certainly immoral sending people crime scene photos of murdered children. But is it illegal? And he argues not. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with Mitch Westerman's case. Mitch Westerman, of course, was the guy who is the friend of Andrew Baldwin. Andrew Baldwin claims he was a victim of crime. Westerman betrayed him. Westerman, sometime in August, went to Andrew Baldwin's office, as he sometimes did. Used to work with Andrew Baldwin, worked in his firm for 7 years. Andrew Baldwin knows him very well. And Andrew was busy on the phone, and he went into the conference room and took a bunch of photos. And then waited until the beginning of October to decide to distribute them to anyone. Something really not right there. He was put up to it. Something. I listened to an episode of The Murder Sheet, must have been maybe last week sometime, and Kevin and Anya were doing their usual crap about this leak, clutching their pearls, strangling themselves. They were clutching that tightly. I'm surprised they could even breathe. Anyway, and Kevin gave this ridiculous analogy and said, well, what if I had like a brand new, I think he said a Cadillac, brand new car, and he left it on the side of the road with the engine on, the keys in, the driver's door unlocked, and then it got stolen. That doesn't even approach what happened, right? A better analogy would be if you invited someone round to your house and in your garage you had a brand new Cadillac with the keys in and the driver's door unlocked, and you left that person alone on your property, I don't know, you went to answer the phone, and that person had a way with your brand new vehicle while you were gone. That's the analogy. Not leaving it at the side of the road. Andrew Baldwin didn't leave crime scene photos at the side of the road. So the Murder Sheet is just ridiculous. Yeah, I would say, if you've a mind to, go and watch it. I'm sure both Anya Kane and Kevin Greenlee love the fact that a professor from the Indiana University Morris School of Law, an expert in habeas cases, kept repeatedly undermining the framing of the situation, while at the same time plugging a competing podcast. Yeah, well, you got to give credit where credit's due. Lady Rainstar says, after they detailed a graphic crime against a child for no legitimate reason, I stopped respecting them. Oh, I stopped respecting them long before that. So I think what Lady Rain there is referring to is Kevin and Anya describing Robert Baston, the guy that the defence called for the June hearing, and then he wouldn't go because of the fear of retaliation and stuff. Him, who's an inmate at Westville. Well, they did an episode going all through in graphic detail his crime. And we know it's dreadful, right? But he's convicted of it. He's in prison for a long time because of it. Whatever his crime was, trying to discredit him by using that crime and it's not relevant. Ultimately, it follows their established pattern of their character, where they've repeatedly, irresponsibly released information to the public with very vague or shady stories about how they got that information, especially in the beginning. If Kegan Kline ends up being a huge nothing burger and this case gets thrown out for any reason, including murder sheet repetitively helping any defence build any reasonable doubt, they really need to take accountability for their actions. You can't scream about ethics and brag about your ethics when the writing is on the wall. What about the Ron Logan search warrant? That had information about the crime scene in it. It wasn't graphic, but it was information that they leaked out when they spent an hour describing what Baston is incarcerated for as a way to discredit his accusations of mistreatment in Westville. Yeah, that was completely unnecessary. Yeah, exactly. Clutch the pearls over a leak that wasn't a leak. And Michael Ausbrook also said that the sending of their own work product, when Andrew Baldwin mistakenly sent the contents kind of page, if you will, of a USB drive to Brandon Woodhouse instead of Brad Rozzi, that wasn't anything to do with the discovery. That was his own indexing of what was on that USB drive. No discovery information. And he said it's a big fat nothing burger. It's a big fat nothing burger. All of it is. The fact that a judge doesn't like a lawyer, the fact that a judge doesn't like the fact that they're defending the client and then says that they're ineffective counsel and they're incompetent. No. So he details all the ways it should have been handled. Go back my videos. Because I've said it. Said it multiple times. Totally wrong. What do you think was the reason for Mitch Westerman doing what he did? Put up to it. Money. But his wife filed for divorce. Mitch Westerman's wife filed for divorce. Allegedly, apparently, according to the good people of Reddit. Good for her. Hope she gets everything and is able to find some semblance of peace after this is all over with. So is this because of this debacle, or is this because he's got a girlfriend that she didn't know about? Ausbrook's dry, ironic style is a perfect foil for Murder Sheet. Well, since the general discussion in the Murder Sheet group on Facebook is that they all hate it, it's probably worth a listen. All right, guys, I don't know. Go and listen to it if you want. I'll put a link to it in the description box. I listen to podcasts on Apple, but Murder Sheet's available on a whole bunch of podcasting platforms. Let's see if they change their opinion on the leaks or they double down. I think they'll double down. And clutch the pearls even tighter to their necks. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video. Go over to Michelle Walks and take a look at Cold Case Christmas. I've got 7 episodes out now, so there's plenty more to come. So see you there. Bye, guys.